Day. This is a new day full of sound and light and expectation. This day has been waiting for you. This day has been waiting especially for you, to embrace you, to guide you. This day has been waiting with open arms just for you. At home, on your computer, walking around, it is waiting just for you. This is the day we have been given. Let's not waste it. Come now, and let us worship together. Welcome, everybody. My name is Reverend Joseph Boyd. I welcome you here live at approximately 11:05 Eastern Standard Time, here to 1105 Elm Street, on the corner of Elm Street and Illinois, in one of the greatest cities in the entire world, Youngstown, Ohio. I welcome all our members and friends from the region in the Mahoning County, Trumbull County area. I welcome all our friends and members in PA, in Meadville, and Hermitage. I welcome all our friends from across the country, from red states and blue states, California, South Carolina, New York City, Pennsylvania. I welcome all those across the world who are tuning in to see what will happen in this country. I welcome all of you in Brazil, the Dominican Republic, Europe. I welcome all of you into this sacred space. For over a century, this church has been faithful in being with, accompanying the marginalized in this community. We have proudly, for over a decade now, waved a rainbow flag outside our sanctuary to signify this very place and now this very virtual space as a sanctuary for all persons who identify as LGBTQ+. We have put on the face of our church a Black Lives Matter banner to remind ourselves as a church community and the wider world that racism and systems that support racism must transform if we are to become the beloved community. If any of this resonates with you as something worth spending your time making real in this lifetime, I hope you consider joining us. I'm glad that you're tuning in, and there are many ways to get involved in this church community, even beyond watching Sunday services. And I'll give you a few examples. There's going to be religious education. If you have a child that's under the age of 15, down in the chat box, down on the right-hand corner, there will be a link. We are grateful for the Kent Unitarian Universalist Church for merging with us virtually so that every age group can have children their own age to commiserate with about how they're living through this time and making friendships that possibly could last their entire life. If you have any teenagers, there's a separate link for age 15 to 18, and again, you can just click on that in the chat box. I welcome you to join in on a very important conversation in the Mahoning Valley locally on anti-racism. It's put on by the Action Network, of which I and the church are a part of, and it's called Anti-Racism at the Crossroads. And that's going to be this afternoon at 3 o'clock, and you do need to pre-register for that. So if you're interested in pre-registering for that, it's open to anybody across the world. But specifically, if you live in the Mahoning, Trumbull County area, I recommend that you do attend. That's 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time today. And you can email office@uuyo.org to get the pre-registration for that. That's office, OFFICE, @uuyo.org. And I open this up to anybody in the community to join me in creating worship for December. So as you may have noticed, this is a collaborative effort between many members and musicians who put on Sunday services every single Sunday. And we follow a theme every single month. So the theme for November is healing. What does it mean to be a people of healing? That's what guides our work this month. And the work for December will be stillness. What does it mean to be a people of stillness? And I would love to hear from you in terms of what that means for you and what you think that might mean for our country and our communities. So you're welcome to join me. That's going to be next Wednesday, November 11th at 7 p.m. And you can just use this link. Again, November 11th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can just use this link. And I look forward to having that conversation with you. For our last two announcements, we're going to go to Marguerite, who has a special announcement about Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and Lisbeth with our stewardship. First, Marguerite.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. I just wanted to call everyone's attention to the announcement that's been running for the last couple of weeks for the Big Brothers, Big Sisters Christmas giving trees. UUYO has generously supported our children in our Big Brothers, Big Sisters program, which is a mentoring program where we match kids in need with a mentor who volunteers their time in our community to become a positive cheerleader and support person for a child. This started back when Liz Hill, who was the partner of our former minister, Matt Allspaw, became a big sister with us. And shortly after that, we began doing the giving trees at the church. And we thank everybody for their generosity over the years. So this year, although we won't be having our big Christmas party because of COVID, we are collecting gifts for our children. And we are also collecting some gifts such as gas cards, grocery cards for some of our families who we know are struggling. So if anyone would want to participate in that or contribute, you can email me, and the information is in the online order of service. I'll put it in the chat box as well, or you can give me a call for more information. Generally speaking, we ask people to either contribute some gift cards, and or we have wish lists for kids who have requested certain items, and we ask maybe people pick up one or two of those items if they're able to. And again, I will put the information in the chat box, and if anyone wants to contact me regarding that. I'm trying to get all the gift cards and not get the gift cards, but get the wish type list and the information out to people by the end of this week. We would be collecting the gifts around the first week in December. So if you are interested, just again, give me a call or email me. And thank you again for your help.
Hi, this is Lisbeth. There I am. I didn't see myself anymore. I have great news to report, which is that it looks like we are going to have a 2021 for UUYO. So it is definitely cause for celebration. By my tallies, we have raised about $116,000 toward our $140,000 goal. Louisa was up into the wee hours of the morning doing additional tallies. Folks we haven't heard from yet that we are expecting will probably continue. And that brings us up to $126,000. Many of you have doubled and even more than doubled pledges to make up for those of us that are just in a position where we can't pledge at all or have to cut way back from what we have done in the past because of work situations and all that. So we have much to be proud of. If it's really, really helpful to us if we can hear from you directly, because we don't want to make assumptions about anybody. And it's just think of it as renewing your vows to UUYO. Most of you on here we've heard from already, but not everybody. So the one last thing is we have a number of sort of angel supporters who aren't directly involved in the day-to-day workings of the church anymore. either because they've moved away or they're, not able to sort of get out physically anymore. But I get to write a letter to those folks saying, we've moved the ball. I used to play soccer. So we've moved the ball down the field. The goal is right there. You can help us tip it in so that we can make this happen. So this is great news. Thank you. Thank you so much. But please do reach out to the office and or to me if you're able to raise just the ongoing withdrawals that you're already doing to help us get closer. But anyway, I'm super happy. Thank you.
Hi, this is Julia Furman Davis, and in light of the word healing for November, we're going to do 2 little healing activities. So the first one comes from this book, Mudras for Modern Life, and it's Brahmara Mudra. It's a humming bee gesture. So if you bring your hand up and put your index finger to your thumb, you can do it on both hands, and then you'll slide your index finger into the base of your thumb, and then you'll bring your middle finger to the tip of your thumb. And it's a wonderful mudra to improve concentration, memory, and confidence. It connects you to the inner spaces of your mind and body. And with practice, you'll feel yourself listening and communicating on a more profound level. So what we're going to do is we'll inhale through both nostrils, pause, and then notice any space as you exhale. The next activity comes from the book, My Grandmother's Hands, Racialized Trauma and the Pathway to Mending Our Hearts and Bodies by Resma Minakum. And I really like this book because when I started massage school, the first thing that we were taught is that any unprocessed hurt, emotional, physical, mental, unprocessed, it will stay in the cells of the body. And so he talks about how we all have racialized trauma stored in our bodies. And he divides it into 3 groups. There's the Black body. There's the white supremacy body. Sorry if that offends you. And then there's the police body. So this little activity is take your left hand and put it on your belly. Well, first put it on your throat. I want you just to feel this and go hum, hum. Hum. Bring your hand down to your chest. Hum. Now bring your hand down to your belly. And this is where you want your hand to be. I just want you to feel the difference in vibration. Hum. So he's asking you not to hum from your throat or chest, but from the bottom of your belly. To hum strong and steady, and to push the air out of your belly firmly, not gently. So if you want to push with your hand, fine, if firmly, but if not, just have your hand there on your belly. You'll breathe in, and then you'll hum. Hum, and if you want to hold the humming bee gesture with your right hand, that's fine. Experience the hum in your belly and then sense it as it moves into the rest of your body, into your upper and lower extremities, into your head. Just notice. Inhale, hum. Do one more. Raise your arms above your head. Bring your hands down to your head. Bring your hands down over your face, the front of your shoulders, down your chest, down your belly, down your thighs. Bend forward, take your hands down. I don't want to move my chair, but take your hands down your legs, down to your feet. Bend forward in your chair. And then sit up. And notice if you feel anything, any sensations, just notice. If anybody wants to talk about that after the service, that's fine. The first time I did it, I didn't feel anything in my body, but now I feel that vibration move out in my lower extremities, my upper extremities, and today it moved into my head. We light this chalice in the spirit of healing our racialized trauma and mending our minds, hearts, and bodies. Thank you. Namaste.
And now, if you will join me in reading the covenant of our church. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Each month, we give to an organization that supports transformation in our community, which is the heart of our mission. In our church's historic commitment to the well-being of our community, we give 100% of our offering to those in need. UUYO's giveaway the plate recipient for November is the Midlothian Free Health Clinic. The Midlothian Free Health Clinic is located inside First Presbyterian Church of Youngstown and provides medical services to individuals in need of care. The clinic believes everyone has a right to quality medical care provided by health professionals who treat patients with dignity, respect, and compassion. The clinic believes patients are more than their disease. They are individuals with unique histories, values, and character. The clinic believes that medical providers must be more than technicians. They must be healers of the mind, body, and spirit. To treat only the physical illness will not solve the problem in the long run. The approach of the Midlothian Free Clinic centers on the fact that healing is a team effort, and physicians, medical and non-medical staff, and patients must all work together in order for healing to occur. The clinic provides hope for the hurt, healing for the suffering, medications for the sick, and treatment for people who are ill. The clinic is open the second and fourth Thursday evenings from 6 to 10 p.m. In a time when access to medical care is so important, Youngstown is fortunate to have an organization like the Midlothian Free Health Clinic available to provide service and support to residents who need it. We will now receive the offering that supports the life of Youngstown, the Mahoning Valley, and our wider world.
Please join me in a few moments of meditation together as a virtual and large community.
You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Because I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room? Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still, I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard? 'Cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness. But still, like air, I'll rise. Out of the out of the lots of history's shame, I'll rise. Up from a past that roots in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hopes of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise.
Well, it seems that we are on our way to confirming our next president and our next vice president, the first woman in history to hold such a position. Reports have shown that this election has brought the greatest voter turnout in American history, in large part due to the work and steadiness of the members of this church and the work of communities across this nation that have ensured that voters indeed have the right to vote. This election was and continues to be a test of our democracy. The results have been pretty close in many counties. Here in Mahoning County, a geographic region long associated with Democratic leadership and support of labor unions, went red this year by a narrow margin, the first time since Eisenhower. It was by a narrow margin, less than 2%. But still, we noticed the shift. I know for many this has been an incredibly stressful and very, very long week. Even with the latest projection looking pretty solid, I know there's still great uncertainty. But I also know there's been celebration in the streets. I know that parties and noisemakers are going off in New York City. I know that crowds are rushing into Black Lives Matter Plaza in Washington, D.C. to celebrate the end of an administration that has threatened their lives and the lives of those they love. During this election, I was asked to be a peacekeeper, a member of the clergy who would show up at the polls in a stole and offer presence, accurate information, and encouragement to voters in the face of potential voter suppression. I was present for hours during early voting at the Mahoning Board of Elections. I found I was not the only one offering voter protection. I met fellow clergy who were doing the same. I also met organizers from Massachusetts and New York who drove in their car all the way to Youngstown, Ohio, because of our high percentage of people of color in this community who have the right to vote. On election day, in the evening, close to 7 p.m., I was called to a polling site outside Warren, Ohio, where a group of white men had gathered in trucks with Confederate insignia prominently displayed, shining their lights on voters. I drove in a car with a fellow clergy person, and by the time we arrived at the polls had already closed. We drove into the parking lot anyway, just to make sure that there weren't any voters who were waiting still for their turn to vote. And not seeing anybody and not seeing any poll monitors, we drove away as curious men outside their pickup trucks walked toward us, trying to see who we were. I remember talking with the clergy person on the way there, and she was asking me, what are we going to do if there are voters there? And I was so grateful that we were offered training, and the training was very simple. The training said, your job is to accompany the voters. Offer your presence and encouragement to voters instead of directly confronting those who are seeking to intimidate you. That would be sufficient in most circumstances. And there were training available for circumstances where that didn't quite work. But that stayed with me, that sense of training. We were trained to be with the voters, not acknowledge or try to confront intimidators. I think this is great training for all of us at this moment. Where are we called to offer our attention, and to whom at this moment? It is easy, I think, to give your energy and attention to intimidators, because that is their goal, to get your attention. But giving them attention at the expense of those we wish to encourage is a grave mistake. I think it is great training for all of us during this time. Who do we wish to encourage and offer our support right now? That should be who we give our attention to. That is who we should give our care to during this time. I think a real democracy is one where we value and encourage everybody, everyday, ordinary people, to make decisions about their lives. As our democracy stands right now, we have these values in writing and through lived examples of women's suffrage in the civil rights era and in the years that have followed. But I think we can do better. I think the base of this is valuing everyday, ordinary people. This sounds simple, And it is, actually. But in practice, I think we have devalued personhood in this country. In the well-known Citizens United case, granting corporations the right of personhood, I think this was made clear. I think this is a symptom of an even greater missed opportunity for ourselves and this nation. We have lost sight of the intrinsic value of a person simply because they're human and they're alive. We have all these qualifiers in this country, qualifiers of race, class, education, job success, to judge whether somebody is truly valuable, whether somebody is truly a person. We have confused economic value with intrinsic value. And as long as these values go unquestioned and unchallenged, we will perpetuate pain and injustice regardless of political party. These were some of the thoughts I had as we approached these white men in trucks, waving a flag that represented oppression. I wondered if these men felt a sense of intrinsic value, or if they only felt they had value according to our nation's standard of the color of their skin. If that is the case, and that is the only place they have to find their value in this nation, I and you have failed these men. I think many people in this nation feel lonely, forgotten, and without intrinsic value. It must feel lonely to find value in the last place our nation has allowed: hatred and bigotry. It is our collective responsibility that we have a nation where the only way some people can find value is by making someone else less valuable. This is the shadow side of a competitive culture that confuses economic and racialized value with intrinsic value. I think recognizing intrinsic value because you're alive, is synonymous with being a person. This idea is not novel, but we have yet to fully embody this principle as a people. If we did, our economic system would be different. Our political system would be different. And our political parties surely would be different. The way we engage with our families, our children, and our work would be dramatically different. Practicing embodying intrinsic value and encouraging others to see their intrinsic value is joyful effort. Sometimes people who are unfamiliar with church often ask me when they find out I'm a minister, "What do you do at church? What is it that you all do?" I usually give a variety of answers depending on my mood and how sassy I feel. But an answer I usually give is, we practice being a person. We practice being a person. This usually starts a good conversation. I've heard some people say, "Well, that's silly. Aren't we all people? Aren't we all persons?" And then I say, exactly. Imagine living in a city. Imagine living in a nation, having a workplace and a family that strongly followed that principle. It would make our effort joyful. And if the only response that was needed in deciding whether we should care for the needy or offer rights and equal opportunity was, of course, because we are all people, and that there is a person. I strongly believe we don't practice to be anything exotic or special at this church. Sorry to disappoint maybe some of you. We just practice being a person. A part of being a person is feeling our intrinsic value just because we are alive. I think without this practice, we fall into a very common trap. We fall into a democracy where there are always winners and losers. Of course, there is a lot of complexity in being a person. I am not the same person as you, and we probably have some different interests from each other. But imagine if intrinsic value was our guidepost for how we would relate to one another and how we would come to decisions. Of course, there will still be persons that wish to cause harm and limit someone's sense of personhood. And in those instances, we are called to be peacekeepers, to keep our intention on those who are threatened while treating the threatener as a fellow person. When we do this, there is an innate harmony that happens, even in confrontation. I have witnessed and experienced how transformative it is to realize our value does not need to come from our success or lack thereof, our accomplishment or lack thereof, our circle of influence or lack thereof. It comes because we are alive, and we are each a person. And that value is innate. It's part of us. It's our birthright. I've been reflecting a bit on the last 4 years, and the image of children being separated from their parents and being put in cages stays with me in my mind. We still operate as a country as if decency is a privilege of what we call citizenship. We still think it is a privilege to be born at a certain time in a certain place. And we all collectively have solidified this understanding through our mass complacency. The idea we currently have of citizenship no longer reflects my understanding of what it means to be a person. But I'm encouraged by communities like this right now that can question the past, even acknowledging our own complicity, and practice being persons together. I'm heartened that we are teaching our youth the true definition of personhood, an intrinsic value they have because they are alive. The intrinsic value is not like a savings account where we save up all our value for ourselves. It's the opposite, actually. In sharing the truth of personhood, this truth of intrinsic value, our own sense of value grows more palpable and real and felt. Who knew that transformation was a process of becoming ourselves? Who knew? There is no limit to this intrinsic value. We still live under a scarce worldview in this nation. In the wealthiest country in the world, our everyday, ordinary people feel like they never have enough. The common, everyday person in this country feels like they need to work themselves to the bone just to show their families and their community that they are indeed worthwhile. And even then, So many of us are just aiming to get by, using all our energy to get by without time to truly be a participatory citizen in this country. A person who can think, question, right the wrongs of the past, and allow more people to recognize their personhood. We have made true citizenship a privilege in this country, something for groups of people with enough time, education, resources, and luck to be born at a certain place at a certain time. There is a reason why there is so much voter suppression and roadblocks to true engaged citizenship in this country. It makes our democracy simple and more predictable. Democracy is the messiest and most unpredictable form of government we have. It's anxiety-producing, it's nerve-wracking, and there is lots of uncertainty. Many of us have experienced this firsthand this week. It makes me think this might be the closest to real democracy we've ever got to as a nation. It's proof that so many people have cared, maybe for the first time in their life. Real democracy is like that. It's a ride. It's alive. And it rarely conforms to our ideas of reality. Our ideas and projections are just that. Ideas and projections. Democracy is a living, breathing enterprise that is not limited just to this. I think becoming a person is not too dissimilar from a nation becoming a real democracy. In spite of all the roadblocks, violence, and oppression, there is a kind of freedom that can't help but rise. Personal agency is electrifying, unpredictable, and awesome to behold. It is not tamed sufficiently by the control and tamping down of the past. Democracy is slippery, alive, and full of blood. Democracies like persons are born, and democracies like persons can die. Like a person, a democracy can find its footing and arise like a phoenix from the ashes. It can rise in a person who, in great fear and trepidation and maybe serious doubt, casts a vote that will decide their life. After the vote, friends, democracy is not over if it is to become real in this nation. It must protect and encourage personhood of individual lives if democracy is going to truly rise to its promise. I'll close by reading again Maya Angelou's great poem about her experience of rising into her person. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Because I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room? Just like moons and suns with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling into teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. Please pray with me. Spirit of love, we are grateful for this opportunity to be alive on this day. Please help all of us collectively and as individuals to feel our sense of personhood, to feel and cherish that palpable sense of value because we are alive. Please help us to share this message through our actions in the community. Please help us to encourage each other during this time, to find hope and beauty and resilience. All this we pray. Amen.
We, we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we keep in our hearts until we meet again.
As you depart, please remember the one great fact. You are loved and never truly alone.